first travel ban, and began to organize politically at the local level. Enter Gillespie, who needed to appeal to the authoritarians in Trump's base to win over the president's coalition, and he appeared to win those voters, but in doing so, he guaranteed a backlash populated by those suddenly invested libertarians. In Virginia, their backlash was bigger. In the 2018 midterms, the relative strength of these same camps will likely be tested again. Here is how Stenner described the underlying authoritarian dynamic. Authoritarians and libertarians are mobilized in defense of that which they value only when those valued ends appear to be in jeopardy. For each side, this will be when they are induced to fear that those ends, and the social arrangements that serve them, might be at risk, or starting to seem too risky for the collective. Mean levels of intolerance may remain constant or even decline. But it will be a very different world indeed. The aggregate result of activating this dynamic will be deeply intensified value conflict across the tolerance domain, sharply polarized politics, and enormously increased demands upon the polity for greater and lesser discrimination against minorities and restrictions on immigration, for more and fewer limits on free speech, assembly, and association, for stricter and softer policies on common rights, abortion, censorship, and homosexuality, for harsher and more lenient punishment. A debilitating culture war ensues. Trump wouldn't have won but for the authoritarian dynamic. Stephen Bannon still thinks it can propel other Republicans to victory. Breitbart and Sean Hannity will keep triggering authoritarians, but Virginia casts new doubt on their dark tactics. Bowie argues that had Gillespie won or come close, other Republicans would have taken note, charging into 2018 with campaigns aimed at the same kind of voters, with the same kind of message, with the same basic goal to obscure an otherwise unpopular agenda with targeted appeals to white racism. And he's right, save for the fact that the appeals in question are better understood as targeting authoritarianism, which can manifest as white racism but is more varied and complicated, being rooted in discomfort with difference, not ideological white supremacy. He adds now, instead of organizing around Trump-like appeals, Republicans have to reckon with the political environment going into next year. And that environment is dangerous. Trump is deeply unpopular, tangled by scandal and investigation. And Republicans overall are well behind in the generic congressional ballot, trailing Democrats by 10 points. In theory, individual Republicans can distance themselves from the president, but Virginia shows that is more difficult than it seems, even against a lackluster opponent. Gillespie tried as much as he could to downplay his connection to Trump. It didn't work. In the old political landscape, Republicans excelled at winning seats in Congress and state legislatures, even while losing the White House for an 8-year period. Triggering authoritarians was probably the only way Trump could have won the White House. But that change may yet fuel a backlash that costs Republicans much more.